So, seated here are potential MECs, potential ministers, because they won't be deputy ministers. So if you are aiming at deputy minister, the post is not available. Seated here, there are potential DGs, HODs, strategic CEOs, and the people who will be leading sections of our government to make sure that we do the right thing. Comrades, 1994 will never have been a revolution, because a revolution means a complete overhaul of the system and replace it with a new system. So when we speak revolution, we mean that capitalism shall be crushed and it will be replaced by socialism. And at times, the revolution does not have to be violent. It has to be through the democratic means, with a willing leadership that will take over power and introduce leftist, socialist perspectives and policies unashamedly without apologizing to anyone. When the leadership of our country in 1994 had an opportunity to change capitalist policies for left policies, which they pronounced themselves, which Mandela pronounced when he walked out of prison and gave the first address at the hall there in Cape Town. He said, nationalization is the policy of the ANC. When they took over power, they forgot what they said on the eve of 1994. By that, then compromised the revolution. Had we nationalized, then we can say the revolution took place in South Africa. So the leadership of the EFF, when it takes over power, it must introduce alternative policies to capitalist policies. One of the most practical things we need to do, because when we're talking nationalization, people resort to other means of saying you are going to take people's banks. You want to take people's banks. We're not taking anyone's banks. They can have their corrupt banks. We will establish our own state-owned bank, which will compete with the other banks. Now, when you say you want to establish a state-owned bank, they have a problem with that. They say, what's going to happen to the 4 banks? You are going to collapse those 4 banks. It's not true. There is a state-owned hospitals. There is private hospitals. State-owned schools. There is private schools. There is state-owned everything. There is private-owned everything. Therefore, let there be a state-owned bank and let there be private-owned bank. Let the one that provides reasonable rates to our people be the first priority or choice.